And hello, you guys are listening to the Incline Dodgers podcast. We are presented by Fanduel, TickPick, and BLEAV. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Kevin Klein here, riding solo. It's Thursday, January 22nd. Kyle Tucker, officially a Los Angeles Dodger. And by official, I mean he signed the paperwork. He is now on the Dodgers active roster, and they made a roster move in correspondence to free up that 40-man spot. No surprise here. We talked about it for a couple weeks here. We predicted Michael Ciani would ultimately be DFA'd, and that is absolutely the case. We'll find out if the Dodgers are able to keep him in the organization if he clears waivers and doesn't get claimed by any other teams. This happened with Fitzgerald recently as well. We kind of talked about that as well. When we had the Andy Ibanez news, we talked about probably Fitzgerald would be a casualty because usually when Dodgers claim guys off waivers, a lot of the times they end up DFAing them a few days later. So thank you guys for watching. Whether you're listening on the audio feed or watching live on YouTube right now, make sure to hit that like button. We're trying to get up to 6,000 YouTube subscribers, especially right before opening day. That'd be really electric. Let's see what's going on in the chat, and you can ask questions along the way. What's up, Rocky Rivera? But I don't know what you're asking, but thank you for tuning in. Kyle Tucker's press conference took place Wednesday afternoon, and it was as low-key as I think it possibly could get. I mean, the media was there. They asked him questions. Kyle Tucker answered the questions, and we didn't really learn a whole lot, to be quite honest. But at least it was smooth sailing. Some of my takeaways: Kyle Tucker will be wearing the number 23. Last Dodger to wear that number 23 was Michael Conforto. Hopefully we get a much better experience with this number 23 for the Dodgers. He did ask Dave Roberts if he could wear 30, but he was quickly shot down. I don't think anyone's ever going to get to wear 30 again. You can hang it in the rafters. It's a lock. The Dodgers will retire 30 when Dave Roberts decides to call it an end. That is his number. And the Dodgers are going to have a lot of numbers they're going to have to retire in the very near future. You've got 22, you've got 50, you've got 17, potentially 5, depending on what happens with Freddy Freeman. Number 30 for Dave Roberts. 74 also a possibility, depending on if Kenley Jansen does end up getting into the Hall of Fame. A lot of really talented Dodgers right now that we're seeing may never have those jersey numbers worn again. But nonetheless, Kyle Tucker chose 23 in honor of his former Astros teammate, Michael Brantley. So a little bit of Astro stench, unfortunately, coming this way down to Los Angeles, but at least Michael Brantley wasn't on that 2017 roster. So we can live with that at least. Some of the questions were a little bit dumb, in my opinion. They did ask Tucker, is it true that you may lack full effort at times? And he downplayed those rumors. He basically said he's going to give it his all. You know, some of his results may not show up in the box score, but any point, Kyle Tucker is here. He said he's here to help bring another championship to the Los Angeles Dodgers. Kyle Tucker has won a World Series before for the Astros in 2022. But yeah, good stuff. Oh, it's very important to talk about the lineup that we should be expecting. Dave Roberts indicated that he does expect Kyle Tucker to hit second or third for the Dodgers. And honestly, this really shouldn't be a surprise for anyone. You're not paying a guy $60 million to bat fifth or sixth in the Dodgers lineup. If you're going to get paid high bucks like that, you got to be near the top of the order. And so I love the idea of Kyle Tucker getting cracks near that top. Ohtani probably will lead off. I'm guessing Betts will hit second. Kyle Tucker hits third. That's your 1 through 3. Unless there's an injury or someone just is awful in spring training, I guess, you could pretty much pencil that in. Kyle Tucker is going to have a lot of opportunities to drive in Shohei Ohtani. What's going on, BC? Thank you for all your comments. We got someone saying 23 should have been retired with Conforto. Michael Conforto doesn't deserve any retirements. I feel like if we retire 23, that'd almost be like respecting him. But anyways, let's see what else. When asked about what the next moves are for the Dodgers, Andrew Friedman did say the roster is pretty much set. He also downplayed the chance of anything seismic happening. So don't expect any big trades. And we've got a lot of trades we're going to be talking about that have gone down in the last 2 days. I think a lot of this is in response to the Dodgers signing Kyle Tucker and the Dodgers having their press conference with Kyle Tucker. But there were some huge trades not involving the Dodgers. And anyways, he said they're not in the market to add any starting pitching. And really not surprised with that either. The Dodgers starting staff is set. They've got 6 really great starters and then a couple of role guys that will get their starts. River Ryan, Gavin Stone, potentially Landon Knack if he's still on this roster. Justin Robleski, they'll get him some starts. But yeah, the Dodgers are, in my opinion, pretty much set. We're just waiting for spring training to roll around. They'll add Kike Hernandez. They'll add Evan Phillips. And I wouldn't be surprised if they add one more position player or reliever, whether it's in a spring training invite or a trade that has minor league options. I think they need a couple guys that they can send up between the big leagues and down to the minors for that roster versatility. But yeah, want to talk about MLB just being mad in general and a lot of fans online demanding for a lockout. Let me just say this. If you call yourself a baseball fan and you want there to actually be a lockout, then I really don't believe you're a baseball fan. Why would you want something that you enjoy to be put on hiatus? The logic just makes no sense to me. If you enjoy a sport, why would you want it to go away by any stretch? And when we talk about the Freddy Peralta trade, the Dodgers aren't ruining baseball with these types of trades or lack thereof. Freddy Peralta's salary next season is a measly $8 million. And you're telling me that a team like the Milwaukee Brewers can't afford $8 million for a bona fide ace in all of Major League Baseball? It's not like they have that huge of a payroll to begin with. They're throwing all this money at Christian Yelich, who is washed, and they can't do their due diligence and try to attempt to re-sign Freddy Peralta, who's been their best pitcher over the last 5+ years, to the deal that he deserves. Well, Corbin Burns, but Freddy Peralta on the active roster, I guess I should say. But again, Corbin Burns, another guy they should have put more effort in trying to sign. So you got this cheap ownership that is, in my opinion, lowballing themselves by offloading these talented players to other organizations, and their fans are mad at the Dodgers because they're willing to spend. No, that just does not add up to me. But anyways, Kyle Tucker, he thinks baseball is in a good spot. So at least he has a positive mindset. And on top of that, it sounds like he had a lot of interest in the Los Angeles area while he was exploring his 3 options. And let's be real. Los Angeles was always going to be the best destination between the Toronto Blue Jays and the New York Mets. I mean, why would you want to play second fiddle in New York and be on the Mets? And a lot of people, I don't think, are drawn to the idea of moving to Canada. The Blue Jays have always had a very difficult time drawing in key free agents because, especially for American-born citizens, I don't think they want to relocate their lives to Canada. That's just the reality. But the Dodgers organization, like we say almost every week, you're living in the best times right now. This is the golden era. They have an opportunity to three-peat. And Andrew Friedman revealed more awesome details. Agents and their players' representatives are reaching out to Friedman saying, he said on AM 570, hey, I know you haven't, they'll say to him, hey, I know you haven't called, as in the agent is basically stating like Friedman hasn't reached out to them, but the agent is saying our player would really like to play there. And that just speaks volume to what the Los Angeles Dodgers have accomplished. They've established a winning culture so many players know what's going on here and they want to be a part of this. That's why we were able to get Edwin Diaz no problem, because Alexis Diaz had a taste of what it was like to be a Los Angeles Dodger. And when Edwin Diaz asked Alexis about his experience, Alexis had nothing but great things to say. I think Kyle Tucker's another example. He doesn't have to be the limelight here. No one's expecting him to be that star player. I heard on ESPN Cubs radio, they were kind of bashing him, saying that this is a guy that doesn't want the big moment. If you're expecting Kyle Tucker to be that guy to drive in the winning run, he shies away from the moment. Well, I have a good feeling that Kyle Tucker is going to put these narratives to bed. And I don't know why Astros fans are acting like this guy was a bust for them. Kyle Tucker was huge for them in a World Series run. Kyle Tucker was probably their second best player over the last 6 years, behind Yordan Alvarez. And so all this denying of Kyle Tucker's abilities, I think, is laughable. And I think they're just trying to discredit the Los Angeles Dodgers, in my opinion. A team like the Dodgers are going to give a guy like Kyle Tucker $60 million guaranteed over the next 2 years if they felt like he was going to be a bum. I'm sorry. They're not going to overpay for an all-star talent if they felt like a guy like Kyle Tucker isn't worth it. And so this all worked out in the Dodgers' favor because the Blue Jays offered that 10-year, $350 million contract, and Kyle Tucker decided better than that, and he's going to bet on himself, do the short-term high AAV deal with the Dodgers. And so we've got him for at least the 2 years. Worst case scenario, I think if Kyle Tucker were to play poorly and not opt out, they'd be on the hook for 4 years, $240 million. But in all likelihood, Kyle Tucker is going to be tremendous for the Dodgers these next 2 seasons. Hopefully get a World Series in that short time span, and then he'll go out there, test the market again, and we'll see what kind of contract he gets. But that's it in terms of Kyle Tucker. You've got a lot of angry people online. Everyone's hating the Dodgers for whatever reason. Whatever. I think there's a lot of other more poorly run franchises out there. The Washington Nationals, when's the last time they've spent any money? The Pittsburgh Pirates spent a little bit of money, but they're still a joke. We'll see what happens with them. The Milwaukee Brewers, they refuse to spend as well. They just continue to go through this little cycle where they bring up star talent, they become all-stars, and then instead of paying them, they ship them off for prospects. So they're in a never-ending crunch cycle instead of trying to go all out. Cleveland Guardians, another team, they hardly ever pay their star players. They got fleeced in that Francisco Lindor trade by the New York Mets. They didn't get anything of substance for Francisco Lindor, and that was a huge setback. Fortunately for them, they were able to keep and decide to pay Jose Ramirez, because every other trade they've done with stars like Lindor aren't really working out, in my opinion. Shifting gears, we've got a big update on Tommy Edman. So in terms of Tommy Edman right now, per Katie Wu in The Athletic, in a conversation with Brandon Gomes, the expectation is that Tommy Edman will not be ready for opening day. We kind of had a feeling this was happening. We theorized this for a little bit. Why? We'll talk about some of the Dodgers moves and kind of recap. But anyways, Tommy Edman's just been dealing with some ankle injuries for the last couple of years and had another offseason procedure. We know this really wore him down, and he had really pedestrian numbers because of the injuries. And his defense was just not the same. He couldn't play the outfield like he previously could. I think it was affecting his base running as well. It was certainly affecting his hitting. But anyways, the goal here for Tommy Edman is probably going to be out for the first half of April. Wouldn't be surprised if he just misses the entire first month of April altogether, because he's going to need to have a version of spring training. That's just the reality. If he doesn't play at all in spring training, then that month of April, I think, through rehab at bats and just getting in shape, that's going to have to be a spring training. But the Dodgers have the depth. They've got the talent to withstand an injury of a Tommy Edman. So I don't think there's any reason to panic whatsoever. Give Edman the time, get Edman healthy. We know that this is a guy that just crushes in October. I mean, he won an NLCS MVP in his first year with the Los Angeles Dodgers. The guy hit tanks off the New York Yankees in the World Series. He had a few big hits for the Dodgers in this last World Series run. What's up, Craig? But anyways, I think Tommy Edman, no need to rush him. It creates a really interesting journey now in spring training, and that's going to be a fun storyline of potentially who's going to be the Dodgers' main second baseman, at least while Edman is out. So early guesses right now, I think Miguel Rojas is probably going to get the lion's share of the at-bats. And the reason being is Dave Roberts loves his narratives. Miguel Rojas, this is his retirement tour. Give Rojas, especially those early home games. I think Roberts is going to want Rojas in that lineup so that fans can just cheer him when they announce the starting lineups, due to the obvious reasons that Miguel Rojas hit the Game 7 home run. So I think Miguel Rojas is going to get a lot of playing time in the early part of the season. There's going to be an interesting dynamic, though, and I think because they might not both be able to make the roster, you're going to see Hae-Sung Kim and Alex Freeland potentially battle it out for that last roster spot. Andy Ibanez is going to be on the roster. He'll get some at-bats. He'll platoon with Muncy. He might get some starts at second base as well. But with Kim and Freeland battling it out, I think that's a good storyline because, let's be honest, both of them were not impressive near the tail end of the season. Kim completely fell off after his really hot start, and Alex Freeland just was not impressive at the major league level. His minor league numbers in AAA weren't so hot either during this 2025 campaign. So it's a good showcase for both Freeland and Kim to kind of prove themselves, and it gives the Dodgers that left-handed bat that they're going to need off the bench and someone they could start in the lineup occasionally. So Freeland's a switch hitter and Kim bats from the left side. So one of those two, I don't know if they're both going to be able to make it, but let them both get a lot of opportunities in spring training. And I think you start there. And so you got Rojas for sure in the lineup against left-handed pitching, maybe some starts against right-handed pitching as well. And then you find that left-handed bat. So whether it's Alex Freeland or Hae-Sung Kim, one of the two, I would imagine, get some playing time with Tommy Edman out. And honestly, whoever of those two don't make it between Kim and Kim and Freeland, they'll start in the minors. So, let them hit, let them rake, see what they can cook. And honestly, if they're struggling by the trade deadline, wouldn't be surprised to see them go in a package, by the way. So especially Freeland, I think he has a lot more trade value, and he's still been graded out as one of the Dodgers' top prospects. But anyways, I think this is going to be a huge prove-it year for Alex Freeland because, let's be honest, if he can't show any signs of getting better, then he's going to go down that trail that we saw Michael Busch go through, Miguel Vargas, James Outman, another. And the Dodgers have shown that they're not hesitant to move off of guys that just aren't cut out for this organization. So let's stay tuned for that. Again, I don't think we need to panic about Tommy Edman right now. The Dodgers roster is so deep, and Edman was probably going to bat 8th or 9th for us anyways. So I'm not too worried. See you guys commenting in the chat. Make sure to smash that like button. If you've got questions for me, we'll take some questions along the way. Definitely want to be interactive with this show. Just wanted to catch you guys up with what's the latest going on with the Dodgers. So let's move on to some other teams real quick. So let's start with the New York Mets. The Mets were obviously highly in the Kyle Tucker race. Steve Cohen even went as far as to tweeting that, let me know when there's smoke, because they obviously put in their final offer for Kyle Tucker and it didn't go their way. They immediately responded, though, and I think they responded in a really, respectable way. And I don't really speak highly of the Mets too often because, if I'm being quite candid, they've been a joke and laughingstock franchise for the last 20 plus years now. And it seems like no matter what the Mets do, it almost ends up like a pie in their face. With the most recent example being they just overpaid for Juan Soto and then did make the playoffs. But I got to be honest, the last few moves they made over the last couple days, they definitely have caught on with my attention. So let's start with Luis Robert Jr. They acquired him in a trade from the Chicago White Sox. We knew that the White Sox were trying to trade Robert for a long time now. Even the Dodgers had some interest with Luis Robert at one point, and I think there was just a lot of question marks with his durability, maybe his competitiveness, as well as just his consistencies with hitting that I think turned the Dodgers off. But anyways, the Mets got this guy for like absolutely nothing. They gave up Luis Acuna Jr. or whatever his name is. He's been nothing but a scrub. He's the bad Acuna brother. So that doesn't move me. And then they gave up another prospect. But good outfield depth for the Mets. They needed that outfielder for sure. They lost Nimmo in the trade with the Rangers to get Marcus Semien in exchange, and it felt like they were just missing a guy. So you got Juan Soto in right field, but now you kind of counteract that with Luis Robert playing center. So good move there. But the big move, and baseball went crazy when this went down. They acquired Freddy Peralta from the Milwaukee Brewers. This was something the Mets were really missing. They needed an ace. They just didn't have that front of the line starting guy. And Peralta is a big game pitcher. This is a guy that's been an all-star. He's been one of the best pitchers of the last 5 years. He's got a lot of experience starting game ones or game twos for the Brewers. Been a part of, NL Central winning teams. So with Peralta going to the Mets, they also got Tobias Myers, who's going to probably be in some type of relief role for the New York Mets. This makes the New York Mets all of a sudden a pretty formidable opponent. I don't know if they're the favorites to win the National League East, but I think they're at the very minimum now a strong number 2. I think the Atlanta Braves and the New York Mets are the 2 teams to worry about in the National League East. I think the Philadelphia Phillies are quickly starting to trail, and it's becoming noticeably quite quick. The Mets did give up a couple top prospects. They gave up one of their top prospect starters in Brandon Sproat and an infielder with Jet Williams. So the Brewers do get, a decent haul back, but these guys are never going to make up what was Freddy Peralta. So Freddy Peralta is a massive acquisition, and I think this makes the Mets certainly much formidable. Whoa, what did I do? Uh-oh. I just screwed up my screen. Okay, well, anyways, try to fix that in a second. So what that means now, you've got Freddy Peralta, likely the ace, I have to imagine, for the New York Mets. Then you've got Sean Manaea you can mix in. You've also got it's annoying. I screwed up my screen. I'm like massive right now. But anyways, hopefully it looks still normal on your guys' end. Freddy Peralta is the ace. Sean Manaea is the 2. They've got some really strong guys. Noah McLean. People bashing my camera now. Ouch. Noah McLean. Clay Holmes. Yeah. So the Mets, they're cooking here. A good lineup now. Probably good for 88, 90 wins if I had to guess. And we could see a rematch of 2024 where the Mets and the Dodgers meet in the NLCS. Bear with me for 1 second. I'm trying to fix whatever I did. I accidentally zoomed in like crazy. There we go. Okay. Whew. People trolling me. I do not think Kike Hernandez is signing with the Colorado Rockies, but if that is true, let me know. Craig Osterberg with a good question here. Do you think the Dodgers have a shot at 116 wins, or will they take their foot off the gas? It's not about taking their foot off the gas. It's about keeping players fresh and healthy for October. And let me tell you this from firsthand experience, winning 116 games, even winning 111 games or 106 games, doesn't guarantee you a World Series. Ask the Seattle Mariners. Ask the Dodgers in 2022. Ask the Dodgers in 2019. You could have so many more wins than the next team behind you, and it all just is erased come October. And I think the Dodgers have boiled this down to a science. It's not about having the best record. It's not about breaking wins records in the regular season. It's about keeping guys fresh and ready for October. And so I don't think the Dodgers are going to win 116 games. I would also be kind of worried if they won 116 games, to be honest. They've got to let guys rest. They've got to put guys on the IL if they're just not healthy. And so I would probably guess the Dodgers win closer to 100 games, not 116. But yeah, fun question. Thank you for asking. So back to Freddy Peralta. Obviously, the Dodgers were heavily linked to trying to trade for Freddy Peralta. It was always a little bit of a head scratcher to me. I just didn't feel like he was a need for the Dodgers. It would have been just a luxury acquisition. Like let's be honest. The Dodgers have a really good starting staff as is. Yamamoto, Snell, Ohtani, Glasnow, Sheehan, Sasaki. They've got River Ryan. They've got Gavin Stone. If you added Freddy Peralta into that mix, it just gets a little confusing. Who they would squeeze out, because you're not trading Emmett Sheehan for Peralta. You're just not. So I don't know where these rumors came from, to be honest, but never really bought the idea that Freddy Peralta was going to be traded to the Dodgers. And to be honest, I don't think the Brewers wanted to trade Freddy Peralta to the Dodgers. I don't think they wanted to help us out. I think they're probably still salty from us sweeping them in the NLCS. And let's be real. Was anyone actually nervous when the Dodgers matched up with the Brewers in this 2025 NLCS? It felt like a bye week to me. I'm going to be honest. Like, I was not scared or moved by this Brewers team at all. It honestly, like the Dodgers Phillies, that was a scary matchup. That felt like a World Series. Dodgers Brewers, on the other hand, that kind of felt like a bye week. Like, this was just a get right, a reset, get everyone ready for the World Series type of feel for me. We didn't score a lot of runs against the Brewers, but neither did the Brewers against us. They averaged 1 run a game. Their offense was atrocious. It was probably the worst offensive performance I had ever seen by any team in the playoffs. And part of that's to our credit, because our pitching staff was just dominant. But on the other hand, the Brewers offense, they were a joke. Like, they were bad. I don't know how they got to the NLCS. They might have been the weakest team we've ever faced in a best of 7. Like, they might be at the bottom of the barrel. Like, I never understood how they got that far. They were kind of frauds. Like, just tweeting out real quick. Anyways, but yeah, feel free to hit that like button and ask more questions along the way. BC with a fun fact: 2020/25 Dodgers won as many playoff series as the Brewers have in their entire 55-year plus history. Wow, well, there you go. Dominated them. So Peralta to the Mets, they're a good team. We talked about as well Robert Jr. going to the New York Mets as well. How about Cody Bellinger going to the New York Yankees? I mean, that felt like that went on for way too long. The Dodgers were linked to Cody Bellinger. Just didn't feel like that was actually ever going to happen. I think Cody Bellinger wanted the Dodgers more than the Dodgers wanted Cody Bellinger. And the Yankees, they gave him a ton of competitive offers. And for whatever reason, Boris and the Bellinger camp were trying to hold out. But once the market completely collapsed, the Mets made their moves. I think Bellinger had no choice but to go to the New York Yankees. And it's not like they're shortchanging him by any means. I mean, they're giving him a fat contract, probably more than he deserves. A 5-year, $162.5 million deal to return to the New York Yankees. The Yankees had a pretty good offseason. They're going to be tough. They're going to be a tough out. I don't know if they're World Series good, but I think they're better than the Blue Jays. I still have the Red Sox as the favorites in the AL East, But I honestly, I think the Yankees are going to be better than the Toronto Blue Jays. The Blue Jays just had a disappointing offseason. They missed out on Kyle Tucker. They missed out on Bo Bichette. They lost him to the Mets, again, the New York Mets. They added some pieces, but honestly, I think they took a step back. And they were literally 2 outs away from winning a World Series. So heartbreaking fashion right now. If you're a Blue Jays fan, let's take a quick break real quick. Give a shout out to the sponsors. So TickPick, I just wanted to shout out TickPick. They've been awesome. They've been partnering with the show for nearly 3 years now. If you haven't downloaded the TickPick app or go to tickpick.com, go ahead and check them out. I want to highlight a few things. There's no service fees at checkout. You know exactly what you're going to pay for when you're ready to hit that checkout button and insert your credit card. I love the app as well. It's just so easy to navigate. Tons of concerts. Think of your favorite artists. You can find them on TickPick. If you're trying to go to the NFL conference championships, if you're a Rams fan, I would recommend, if you're going to make that trip to Seattle, get your tickets over at TickPick. If you're a Lakers or Clippers fan, I know the Lakers and Clippers are playing tonight. You want to get last minute deals. Also check out TickPick. They've just got the best prices. So shout out to TickPick. I wanted to also just pull up some other stuff real quick. So I'm curious who your guys' early award picks are. So for FanDuel right now, if you wanted to bet on the National League MVP for 2026, it's Shohei Ohtani by a mile. He's a minus 135. And if I'm being honest, Shohei Ohtani is going to be my pick for MVP this upcoming season. I just think he's going to dominate with the bat as always. And I think he's going to have a really strong pitching season. I think when this season's all said and done for Ohtani's pitching resume, he'll probably finish second or third best ever of his major league starting career. So Soto comes second, plus 650. But yeah, Shohei Ohtani right now, very heavy favorite over at FanDuel. National League Cy Young race, another interesting one. So Paul Skeens is also the favorite. He's got a plus 250 in his favor. But number 2, Yoshinobu Yamamoto of the Los Angeles Dodgers. And so I love seeing that. This could be a huge, and Yamamoto's already had 2 great seasons, but there's a good possibility that 2026 is Yoshinobu Yamamoto's finest season to date, and that's 2 World Series titles under his belt. Plus 550 is the second best odds right now to win the National League Cy Young. Blake Snell comes in at 6. He's a plus 1,500. But if you're high on Yamamoto and you want to lock in those Cy Young odds and you think Skeens isn't it and Yamamoto is your guy, plus 550 right now, it might not get better than that. Certainly it will shift if there is some regression from Skeens. So just keep that in mind if you think Yamamoto is going to win the Cy Young. So let me know what you guys think. And yeah, Yamamoto did almost have a no-hitter. Maybe he will. So more topics. So let's talk more trades. I mean, Mackenzie Gore got traded to the Texas Rangers. Mackenzie Gore had spent the last few seasons with the Washington Nationals. He was part of that Juan Soto trade, initially coming from San Diego, getting traded to Washington. And now he's been traded to the Texas Rangers. So while I'm not going to glaze the Texas Rangers by any stretch, wouldn't consider them the World Series favorites. I think this is an awesome ad though for Texas. And honestly, they didn't give up that much. You look at, 5 prospects, but then put this in perspective. They've got one of the worst bottom 5 farms in all of Major League Baseball. Their system has kind of just been putrid lately. Some of that's due to trades. Some of that's just due to poor draft selection. But I still think the ceiling on Gore is really high, and he gets better every season. I think there's a lot of untapped talent, and going to a better team like the Rangers, I think we're not even in Gore's prime yet. So the reason I bring up Gore is I think this is once again a response to teams trying to counteract the Dodgers. So how do you neutralize a team that's got elite left-handed bats in their lineup, like Ohtani, Freddie Freeman, Kyle Tucker, will you get a hard-throwing lefty like a Mackenzie Gore? And so I think that's some of the thought process here for the Texas Rangers. The Rangers are, they've got a really good starting staff now. Jacob deGrom obviously is their ace, though he's not what he once was, but he still had a really good season last year, and that was after missing a couple years. Jack Leiter, a guy I'm still very high on. I think his game's going to continue to elevate. They've got Nathan Eovaldi. The guy has just proven he can pitch in October. Really good force. Kumar Rocker also is in their rotation. More of a back end guy, but this was once a guy that was just cooking in college baseball. And so Mackenzie Gore, he joins a really good bunch. The guy can throw hard. He gets a lot of strikeouts, has a really tough slider to hit. Last season had 185 strikeouts, 160 innings thrown. So it's good. Like it's fun to see these teams try to battle it out and try to dethrone the Dodgers. So from Treco, what do you see happening after Freddie Freeman's contract? Really good question. When Freddie Freeman's contract is up, so he's got 2 more years left with the Dodgers. I don't know if he's going to retire. I think he wants to get 3,000 hits, and he's about a little over 550 away from the 3,000 hits. So he is likely not going to be able to do that over the next couple of years. But I think he'll part ways with the Dodgers, to be honest, because at that point he'll be 38. And I don't know if the Dodgers want to run it back with a 38-year-old first baseman. But I think they're going to have guys ready. Sorry. Josue DePaula, he obviously stands out to me as a potential first base candidate. I think Dalton Rushing, if he's still on the Dodgers roster, another guy. Here's your guy. You may still have Will Smith catching. Well, you get Dalton Rushing in there at first base. There's also just an extreme outlier possibility that Shohei Ohtani, maybe he can't pitch anymore. This is real extreme, and hopefully it doesn't happen. Maybe Shohei Ohtani decides he's going to play first base for the Dodgers. I also could see that being a possibility. But to answer the question, I think Freddie Freeman is done with the Dodgers when his contract is up in 2 years. Craig Osterberg, do the Dodgers have an easy or hard schedule at the beginning of the season? Let's look that up real quick, because to be quite honest, I haven't really even looked at the Dodgers schedule yet. I know it came out a while ago, but I typically kind of wait till closer to opening day. So they open with Arizona at home. Then they've got Cleveland. Then they got the Nationals. Then they got the Blue Jays. Then they've got the Rangers. Then they've got the Mets. Then by mid-April, they've got 4 at the Rockies. They've got 3 at the Giants. They've got 3 versus the Cubs. And then to round out April, they've got 3 against the Marlins. At first glance, I would say that's definitely on the tougher side. I mean, there's a lot of potential playoff teams that the Dodgers could be facing early on. And you know what that means if the Dodgers have a very tough first half schedule. I guarantee you they have a very soft second half schedule, especially in September. Let's pull it up right now. You want to bet? Okay, here we go. We're in September now. Cardinals, trash. Nationals, trash. Reds, decent. Marlins, also decent. Back to the Reds. They could either be in it or they could be completely out of it by then. Giants, mediocre. San Diego Padres, mediocre. San Francisco Giants, mediocre. So tail end of that schedule is super soft. A lot of NL West opponents as well. So I would say tough first schedule, and then second tougher half. I mean, tough first half schedule, easy second half. But yeah, good question. Keep those questions going. Make sure to hit that like button as well. Miscellaneous topic real quick. So you guys remember Sioux Plantation? Well, I decided to trek out to Rancho Cucamonga recently, and they've got the spinoff or the reincarnated version called, I believe it's called Soup and Fresh. And there was a lot of hype. I know people were just going crazy when I pulled up. it wasn't crowded per se, but I did see they had a line queue with the whatever, because they probably have deal with long lines, but it was not the same. Like, honestly, the blueberry muffins were not very good. The brownies weren't very good. The pizza tasted about the same. The pasta didn't have the same flair. The salad was about on par, but I was quite disappointed. It was like trying to take a living person and bring them back as a dummy. It just was not working for me. So I was disappointed. Unless it just wasn't as good as I remember, it did not live up to the hype. Tradeco 99, what do you think the Dodgers are going to do with Tarek Skubal? And what would I do? I think the Tigers are going into the season with Skubal as their ace. I think they're going to at least try to play this first half with the intent to win. Their offseason has not at all screamed to me, though, that they're trying to win a World Series. I've been very underwhelmed with their good. I've been very underwhelmed with what they're trying to do. They're not very good. Sorry, I think I misspoke there. The Royals are up and coming. The Guardians are always there. The Tigers have a good shot to make the playoffs because they've got a good core, but they're just not being aggressive enough to be a World Series team. And so I think the Tigers will hold on to Skubal. They'll evaluate where they're at come deadline time. If they're in the race, I'm sure there'll be buyers. If they're out of the race, they're going to trade him. But anyways, what would the Dodgers do? It's funny. Anyways, so what would the Dodgers do? They're going to be in it. Like, they're going to be in the Skubal market. They're going to check in with the Tigers, especially I think anytime the Tigers hit a slump. They're going to ring that phone. They're going to call Detroit and ask, what does it take to get Tarek Skubal? But I don't think it's going to come at a cheap cost no matter what. I almost think that one of River Ryan or Emmett Sheehan have to be involved. You probably have to throw in Justin Robleski, because I would be shocked if the Detroit Tigers walk away from a Skubal trade not having at least 2 MLB ready starters. So you've got those. Potentially Jackson Ferris has to be thrown in. I also think one of Zaire Hope, Mike Sirota, if not both, have to be in this package as well. I would try to avoid trading Josue DePaula and Quintero at all costs, but the rest of our outfielders, Alex Freeland, I think they're all on the table. I think the Dodgers have to give up 5 or 6 players to get Skubal to this organization. But if we have injuries and there's a need for him, they're going to be in it. Believe me. I like this question from Bloodhound Lil Jeff. Do I think Juan Soto is actually 33 years old? Whether I've talked about it on here or not, I know I've talked about it in our Discord, so I'm going to share that link actually in a second. I'll tell you this. I don't think Juan Soto's 27. I just don't. Look at his pictures when he's 19. I was in college. I was around plenty of 19-year-olds. Nobody looked like that. I would think Juan Soto is probably closer to 30, if I'm being honest, than 27. Obviously, I could be very wrong. I have no evidence, but as far as I'm aware, there's no birth certificate that's floated out there. It feels a little shady, in my opinion, that feels a little shady that a guy like Juan Soto, would get so many years being a poor defender and base runner that he is. I think they manipulated his age so that he could get that huge contract, and it worked. So I don't think Juan Soto's 27. I don't think he's 33. Funny enough, I would put it in the middle. I think he's probably 30. And there's been other players out there that have lied about their age. So maybe even Albert Pujols took a year or 2 off. Rocky Rivera 5. I don't know based on Kevin's I don't know what Kevin's occupation is, but he probably goes to bougie places. I don't know if I go to bougie places, to be honest. You're not going to really find me at Michelin star restaurants, but you're also going to not really find me at a McDonald's too often. So I'm a middle class guy. So You'll find me somewhere in between. Occasionally, I'll have some Domino's. I'm also going to have my favorite pizza, Pizzeria Say. So there's a fine line. You won't find me at a Motel 6, but if there's a good deal, I will try to stay at a Fairmont. So, I try to find that balance of not too bougie. I'm not going to be out of Four Seasons, but I'm also not going to be at a hotel at a Motel 6. But thank you for your observation. Hepatitis C later says Luol Deng was 45 when he signed that contract with the Lakers. He was awful. Luol Deng was awful. But do you guys have any other questions for me? We might be running out of subject matters here, but just wanted to give a lowdown of what's been going on with the Los Angeles Dodgers. But nonetheless, we continue to see moves happening. Teams are trying to load up and compete with the Los Angeles Dodgers. Early guesses right now of who I think would make the playoffs. So let's just do the National League. Who cares about the American League today? We'll get to that as we're closer to the season. So National League West, I've got one team making it. It's the Los Angeles Dodgers. National League East right now, I think 3 teams will make it. The Braves, the Mets, the Phillies. I think all 3 are going to get in. National League Central, the Brewers, the Brewers can't make it. Like, it just cannot happen again. They continue to lose all their top players. They have barely any starting pitching now. Give me the Chicago Cubs and then the Cincinnati Reds. So one in the NL West, those 3 NL East teams, and then I've got the Cubs and the Reds making it. Yeah, I think that's a safe bet right now. So what did I think of the Gore trade? Yeah, I mean, I love it for the Rangers. I'm high on Mackenzie Gore. I think he's going to be a true breakout star very soon, and maybe not an ace, but he'll get that recognition as one of the game's best starters. So I think this was a great move for the Rangers. I don't know what's going on with the Nationals. Like, they're just wasting this Soto trade. Like, you gave away Juan Soto. You're not winning with James Wood. You're not winning with CJ Abrams. And now you got rid of Gore. You aggregated him for more talent. And, I mean, they got a couple good prospects back, especially the third base guy, who's one of the Rangers' top prospects. But I think the Texas Rangers won this trade big time. What got me into music? Just love music. I don't know. I love ball. I love music. Big into rock music. Blink-182, I think, got me into music heavily. Just continue to expand my taste. Love going to concerts. And talk about my first game as a kid from Rocky Rivera. Late 90s, early 2000s, Sean Green, Eric Gagne, starting pitcher. The Dodgers were very mid. These were dark days. This wasn't even Frank McCourt era yet. It was like Fox Sports ownership in the late O'Malley days. You go to a Dodger game back then, you weren't expecting to win a World Series. Like, you didn't even really know what a World Series was, to be honest. Like, I had no clue what it was like rooting for a competent team. Like, you just went there for the vibes, to be honest. Like, tickets were cheap. You just went there for the Dodger dogs. You went there to hang out. There was no pressure. The expectations were low. That was what my experience was like as a kid. Much different ball game now. Very high pressure, high stakes. World Series or bust every year. Very expensive, luxury experience. Barely go to games now because they're so expensive. Traffic is a pain in the ass. Much easier just watching it on TV. But yeah, we're living in the golden era of Dodgers baseball. And as a reminder every week, cherish it. Dennis Gonzalez checking in. Question, who's looking to be the biggest rival this season? San Diego Padres, San Francisco Giants, Arizona Diamondbacks. Let me rank them right now. I'm going San Francisco Giants as the biggest threat. They're not formidable at all by any means. They didn't add a good starter. Their lineup is still basically what it is, but they've got some thump in there. Rafael Devers is good. Matt Chapman's solid. Heliot Ramos is continuing to get better. They've got a solid squad. I think the Giants will give the Dodgers a little bit run for their money, but we're still going to win the division by probably at least 8 games. The next two is more of a coin flip. It's going to come down to health, but right now, give me the Arizona Diamondbacks, especially if Corbin Burns can get back in an ample amount of time. Corbin Carroll's really good. The lineup's got a lot of top prospects they're about to integrate. Some solid starting pitching. They brought back Merrill Kelly. San Diego Padres they don't move me. They have no starting pitching. It's just the Michael King show. The bullpen, they lost Robert Suarez. Just not scared of San Diego. They're kind of a joke. I think I also I promised talking about the MLB top 100. So we don't know the top 10 yet. That'll be coming out soon. But to kind of quickly dive into that real quick, we know Shohei Ohtani's number 1, like no doubt about it. Yoshinobu Yamamoto came in at 13. Mookie Betts came out at 18. Will Smith came out at 20. So 3 Dodgers made that 11 through 20 range. I got no issues with that. I think Yamamoto being the 13th best pitcher in all of Major League, 13th best player in all of Major League Baseball. That's really cool. So good for Yamamoto. Love that. And then getting through the 21 through 30 real quick. Number 21, Kyle Tucker. Number 22, Freddie Freeman. So the Dodgers have a lot of talent in that top 25. We're loaded, baby. Ohtani's going to be number 1. And then we just talked about the other guys. Mookie Betts still at 18. Just ahead of him was Kyle Schwarber. Just after Mookie Betts was Ketel Marte and then Will Smith. So we got a really talented team. I think this Dodgers lineup, it's going to have a good shot of breaking the franchise record home runs in a single season. I don't know if they're going to do it, but I feel pretty strong about that we're going to have a lot of home runs this upcoming season. Let's see what else. So let's get into final thoughts, final questions now. We're almost at the hour mark anyways. So yeah, let's just do the last call for questions and then we'll get on out of here. We already talked about all our sponsors as well. So let's see what we've got. I see some things trickling in and then we're going to peace out. So from Rocky Rivera, based on the background, what should MLB do to make the game more fair with free agents, deferrals, TV deals? I've actually started working on this framework and I'm sure I'll have more of an idea as we get closer to the collective bargaining meetings, but early thoughts right now. And what I think will happen, stricter rules with deferrals. To be honest, while it's legal, I do think the deferrals thing that the Dodgers are doing isn't exactly fair. You can't give a guy like Shohei Ohtani a $700 million contract and then defer $680 million of that. You know, we've got to find a fine line here. I think they're going to crack down on those deferrals. Number 2, if they keep the qualifying offer or they get rid of it altogether, it doesn't matter. But what I think they're going to do is they're going to add stricter draft pick penalties for teams with higher payrolls. So like the Dodgers or Mets, for example, if they were to sign a Kyle Tucker versus another team, we'll lose more draft picks versus those other teams. So I think to kind of negate and deter teams from signing these guys that might have a QO attached, there might be stricter penalties. I don't think they're going to have a salary cap. I don't think they're going to have a salary floor. I do think they could find something with a fine line, though, in between that, though, where you as a team are rewarded for retaining your homegrown talent. So guys that you drafted and developed or signed from the international bonus pool and all that, if you sign them, I think, and retain them and pay them, whether that's just getting rid of arbitration altogether or when they become free agent, bringing them back, I would like to see maybe them not count that towards any tax penalties and somehow incentivize teams for retaining talent. I don't know exactly how you do that. maybe MLB helps subsidize it a little bit or reward them with more draft picks. So, for example, if Corbin Carroll, let's just use him as an example. He's a free agent, and it's the Dodgers or Diamondbacks coming down to it. If the Dodgers try to sign Corbin Carroll, they lose a bunch of draft picks. If the Diamondbacks try to re-sign Corbin Carroll, maybe they get a draft pick, and they get to also not have it count towards the tax penalties. So for teams like the Dodgers, if they sign Ohtani, they sign Tucker, they sign Betts through an extension and whatnot, maybe the penalties become so extreme that instead it incentivizes you to try to draft and pay those guys instead of outsourcing to the talent like that. I don't know. That's just my rough idea right now. I'm trying to think of a way to essentially try to reward teams for keeping their players, like the Brewers, who have been pussies, as opposed to just giving them away when it's like an $8 million contract. Like, come on. Good question here from Amro Cade. I have a hard time trusting the depth of the Dodgers pitching staff. And what I mean is, other than Ohtani, Yamamoto, Glasnow, Snell, all the other guys are 4+ ERA guys, except maybe Sheehan. Expectations on health. I mean, to be honest, I kind of disagree with this sentiment. I think the Dodgers' starting depth is as deep as it's ever been. And Emmett Sheehan had a 293 FIP last season, not even close to a 4 ERA. Roki Sasaki was the one that stood out and did struggle. So keep an eye on him, and we'll see how he looks in spring training. If he's absolutely putrid, don't be surprised if the Dodgers send him down to AAA to start the season. But I think Roki Sasaki is going to have a good sophomore season for the Dodgers, and he'll be their 5 or their number 6. But River Ryan, when he comes back, he was dealing immediately when he was called up. Gavin Stone was also really good for the Dodgers prior to the injuries. They've got other depth guys in there that they can mix in. Landon Knack was mediocre. Yeah, I'll admit that. Kyle Hurt, don't know if he's going to be a relief pitcher or starter for the Dodgers, but they've got him in the mix as well. I think the Dodgers' depth is really strong right now. I trust it. This is as high as I can possibly get on a starting staff. Goals for the podcast in 2026. Well, definitely that 6,000 subscribers mark on YouTube. So hit that subscribe button. We want to continue to get on new faces, whether they work in the industry, some Dodger fans occasionally as well. We'll continue to bring back regulars. Jake Reiner, continuing to send out all our prayers to him. We're hoping to get him back before the 2026 season kicks off. I know that he misses doing the show. But yeah, I mean, ultimately the goals are, we want to hear your feedback. We want to know what you guys want us to talk about. And it doesn't hurt to always get more super chats along the way as well. So just going to throw that out there. I love what BC is talking about in the chat. He's got his thoughts about, what they should do with the payroll. He wants them to abolish the CBT. Don't know if that'll happen. Let's see. Willard Wright, no disrespect, but when the Dodgers DH retires in future, I'm probably sure the glory days will be over. You never know. You never know, Willard. You just never know. Yeah, okay. So closing it out, final thoughts real quick. Go Rams. This is our shot to get back to the Super Bowl. Los Angeles sports are just absolutely crushing it right now. Dodgers back-to-back World Series champions. Rams with the possibility to get back to the Super Bowl. Lakers Clippers showdown tonight. That'll be exciting. I know the Galaxy have won an MLS Cup recently. LA Kings, they're doing their thing. I know they are trying to get to their glory days. But yeah, thank you